All right, guys, this is Brandon with Held Accountable. I just want to come to you guys and let you know that Scorpion Outdoors is hooking you guys up. So, for the Spotify listeners that aren't on Instagram, I encourage you to go over to Instagram at Held Accountable Pod and check out the giveaway we're doing. So, this episode we talked about some archery tech. We talked bow setups and everything. There's a whole pile of it. It's a long podcast, but if you got some really worn out strings like I do on this backup bow, which need replacing, head over to Instagram. There's going to be a giveaway for a free set of strings being donated from Scorpion Outdoors. So head over. Thank you. Good luck. All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Held Accountable. I'm Brandon, and you can see on video we got my boy Engel here, Mitchell. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. It's been some time. We had some things in the works to get some stuff recorded, but life is life, and we don't do this full time, and we got to align some things. So, which is actually pretty cool. We're kicking off with video stuff and try to give a little bit more hands-on as we talk today. So we're kind of doing two topics for everybody. The elk seems to be a fan favorite, and we're going to touch into that, and then we're going to get into some bow talk, some tech talk, because I think that's one that not enough bow hunters pay attention to. So I think that's going to be a good one. I think that's going to be real nitty gritty. I'm looking forward to that. So I'll hand it over to you, and we'll start with some elk talk.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. So I heard through the grapevine you and your brother went up to your stomping grounds to do a little exploring.
Yep.
So tell us about that. What did you guys find? What revelations did you find that you didn't maybe know in the fall? And yeah, walk us through that.
Well, it's kind of like it's a plan B spot, but it's got the potential for an A.
Okay.
Basically what we wanted to do is we had a camera, Ty had a camera set up since last June, and we didn't even think it'd be alive still, which I have to give praise to non-cell cameras, because those things will just go and go and go.
Did it soak all winter with no, and
Dude,
still alive?
Got pictures of velvet bulls the day before we checked it.
Oh, nice.
With nubs, and one with dude, it's wild. So that was kind of the mission. Like, it was a family trip, and the wives weren't too impressed that we were gonna take off. But I mean, they understand too. We don't get much time to do it, especially together. And I mean, you got to take advantage of what you got. So the main goal was to go check the camera and see what was going on there. Just walk it and see it, through a little bit different lens. Now that you're not hunting and you're not looking for bugles and rubs per se, like, just walk into it like an open canvas and see what you can find. And it didn't disappoint. That camera turned up some good bulls. It's not like it wasn't like hot and heavy, holy crap, like we need to hang tree stands here. But it definitely showed us, when you could see that transition. It was cool. You could see it right from when we left hunting. You can actually tell when the rut kicked in, because the bulls were coming through more often. Mm-hmm. And then it died off, dude. All winter it was nearly dead. The whitetail kicked off. There was a bunch of whitetail bucks that showed up in November, which was really cool. Nice. But yeah, so it just kind of outlined that. And then literally it was, dead, quote unquote, until, the day before. There's literally some bulls on it the day before. So that was cool. It was nice to see there's a creek there. So it was nice to see that creek was actually flowing. Last year, it was just dead pools. Like, there's just little puddles. So to see it flowing, that was encouraging. Hopefully that can keep up too. And that was kind of the start of it. And then I had cameras to put out, and Ty had a couple to put out, and we swapped some around and tried to maximize as little time we had. So it was, we really didn't have like a goal, so to speak. Like, without telling anybody where I am, where we are, I wanted to go east. I wanted to go and explore out there just based off of last year. That's where the bulk of the bulls were. That's where they were bugling from. So there has to be a reason. There's got to be something over there.
Mhm.
Um, but we didn't have enough time for that, unfortunately. It's a big walk back there. So we just kind of pussed around. We did go east, just not where I wanted to go.
Right.
Um, but found some good things too. Same thing like the whitetail we talked about. The transition of foliage, like from poplars and the brush to the spruce, and then you get in those dark pines, and the dark pine is where we saw the most sign for the rut. So that was good. Like that kind of helped solidify some things to look for coming in to the fall. But I mean, we're a long ways away, so
Sure.
I'd like
Did
to.
you? I got a question. You
Yeah,
mentioned you just said that the bulk of your sign was in the dark timber, dark
yeah,
pines. Was
yeah,
it right in like the middle of the patch, or like in the transition zone, like we were talking about with whitetails? Do you
yeah.
see?
No, it
Do
was
you have any
dead
parallels
center.
there? Dead center.
No, it was dead center. Like, um, for the most part, like we're talking like small patches. It's not like it was like a quarter mile of dark timber.
Right.
It was literally transitions of poplar, and it's like you could have drew a line, and then there was, that pine, kind of like that swampy pine, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still some pretty good trees, lots of deadfall.
Nice.
Um, but there are more in the middle of that, kind of adjacent to water, creeks and such, right? So um, mainly just heavy trails that were leading down, and they would follow the ridge. So that was, I mean, like those are the things but it was cool to put it together, not under pressure. Because when
Sure.
you're hunting, you're under pressure. You're not looking for that stuff. Like you're trying to chase bugles. You're not trying to pick it apart, right? So,
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
um, so that was kind of the bulk of it. Like,
So, what would you say is, now that you guys did that trip, what was like the
mhm.
best piece of intel you gained from that? Like
um,
that you're gonna utilize come September.
um, for that, I would say like knowing what we know now, and given that it's a slow rut, we'll call it quote unquote. I'm still convinced it has everything to do with just the moon phase, and our calendar dates aren't always the same. So when I say a week late or a week early, that's what I mean by that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would say, man, the biggest for I think both of us were on the same page when I could say that, like going into it, not going to start bugling, not going to start calling until we get closer to those areas. Um, because I think we were starting a little too early, and all I mean by that is we're displaying it. We're saying, "Hey, I'm a bull. I'm over here," and then we're just taking our time going through it. And if they're not fully into it, they're not going to care,
No.
right? So you still have to get into that 100-yard radius. Still got to get closer. So I think just having that little bit of information, and we'll see what the cameras do for us too, right? Like that's going to tell a big story as well coming into summer and leading up into August. Like if we're not seeing a ton of bulls, well, that changes things.
Yeah,
Um,
who knows, right? Like you can have a summer range, winter range, rut range. Like you never know where they're gonna be.
and that's just it. I mean, both my cameras I put out, had cows on them the first night, like 30 hours. Well, not first night,
Okay.
second night, 30
Yeah.
hours into it. They haven't been back. So I'm kind of leaning towards trying to pattern them in the sense of how often they come through.
Sure.
Um, whether the bulls come or not, if the cows are there, that's huge intel, right? Like,
They'll come.
because the bulls are going to come look for the cows eventually.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe there'll be a pattern like every week or every 10, 12 days they come through and try to line that up. And I mean, you got to put in that work, right? Like you got to pay attention to those little things, and that's what I'm looking forward to, is trying to learn it in a totally different light instead of just being rut crazy and I'm gonna go bugle and rake and rip off every bull out there. Try to be a little more methodical with it, which ties into that bull we talked about that I spooked. He was on the fringe of that dark timber, getting worked up, ready to come and fight,
Yep.
and he never made a peep. So, maybe those, you talked about it too, with your going up early. Maybe like getting into those areas and starting the displaying stuff, right? The raking and kind of moans and groans and maybe a little soft chuckle and maybe just try to pique the interest of a bull that could be there to say, hey, who are you?
Yeah,
You're a little close to my turf, buddy. Like, I want to come check you out
sure.
and kind of play it off that way. If that answers anything, like
No,
it's
that's
still
fair.
pretty new. I
So
think
I
keep
guess.
so go. Yep.
Oh, go, I was gonna say, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think a key point to it too is focusing on the water. Like it's early now, it hasn't been super hot, but come in July,
Yeah,
August, man, if it stays dry the way it is, water's gonna be a huge factor. So even if it's not like the highway, they're gonna be coming to water. And I mean it might not be at three of our cameras, but they're still gonna be coming to water, right? So hoping to catch them in that transition would be huge. Be good information.
for sure. So do you think having your cameras out and kind of monitoring the area throughout the summer months leading into fall here,
Hmm.
this is kind of a real theoretical question, but do you think it's going to
Yep.
change the way you hunt? Like to change the
Um,
way you approach your week off up there?
I think, I mean, yeah, I mean, that is totally theoretical because you just don't know what you don't know until you know it, right?
Yeah.
But I do think it will because if we do focus on that area, there's so many different options. If it's a bull only area, well, that changes things. That's a display of dominance immediately. Like that's how we'll attack it. If it's a ton of cows that are hanging out in there at that time, well, then we have to look at it a little differently because where are the bulls? Where are they coming from? Um, because they're gonna come to the cows eventually. Um,
That
so I
could
think
also
I
be a
think
display of dominance as well, right? Like these are my cows,
well,
back off.
and that's just it, right? Like if and that's what I mean. There's so many different possibilities. But I do think having the cameras there is, I mean, it's a leg up, right? Like you can know that there's elk there, but it is kind of cheating knowing that they were there 6 days ago, and on average they come every 12. Well, in a sense, it doesn't mean you don't hunt it, but you could almost take your time and not push it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like maybe go in and look for the fresh sign, look for the fresh rubs, um, telltale sign of green poop.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be honest with you, dude. Even just getting in there in the dark, I know, like it's a little eerie. I don't love the dark, especially when there's wolves and such around. But even to be out there and just sitting in the dark, because they will bugle eventually in the dark, even if they're not fired up. Like something's gonna have to squeal off. It's just like
What it is.
it's just what elk do. They just can't not help themselves, right?
Yeah.
So it's just usually we're not awake or there to witness it. So
That's it.
it's maybe stuff like that. So
Cool.
I'm a camera junkie, so I'm just looking forward to getting pictures.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I love that part of it. And then I just kind of roll with what we see and what happens. Like it's not like we got a slam dunk. Still got to
No.
work at it, right? And it's yeah, just kind of wait and see how it unfolds. Um, the big one that we did learn though is they like the trails are beat up. They like the creek more than anywhere else, I would say, which makes sense. Like that, somebody's probably gonna laugh at me and be like, "Well, duh."
Yeah.
But I mean, but it's more frequent than just coming down for water. Um, like Tyler had pictures of after he's seen him on the computer. He'd see the one bull, but if you look behind the camera, he said there's 5, 6 elk down in the bottom mingling. They're not just all getting water, so
Yeah.
it's just good information. And it actually, I'm hoping I can get up there in July because we like to explore that part of it a little more, go north or maybe further east and just kind of just pluck along and
Yeah.
see what else we can see, right? So
Did you find any maybe new access points or ways to
no,
to the an area that might be more efficient, better for
no.
prevailing winds or something like that?
Unfortunately not nothing new. Um the one line that we walked would, if we had to, we could come at it from the east. it's a long walk, man. There's spots. Oh man, if you can't get into the road, it's over 7K just to get there.
Right.
If you can get in on the road, if there is no rain and it's not mucky, because it's just old abandoned roads, right? Then you're like 3K. And any way to it is pretty much the same. It's kind of, you can call it a honey hole in a sense, just from the fact that you're pretty much going to walk into the guy if somebody's back there, right? Like you're going to know if somebody's in there, and then you just hope that you don't run into each other.
Is there any way to like? Pretty sure Ty has an ATV. Like, you guys could ATV that road.
Yeah, if we had to, for sure we could.
If you really wanted to get in for whatever reason that way.
Oh yeah, like if we got, let's say we got bulls on camera, the week before, and it's mucky and muddy. Yeah, I mean you could quad it. I would still walk it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I'm not afraid of walking.
Oh, that's fair.
Use the ATV to get them out if you have to, but no, there's still lots to explore there. And we'll see if I get some time in July, because I'm sure that's what we'll do. We'll just spend way more boots on the ground and just cover it, right? Just like pick a line and walk it, see what intersects. And I love Onyx because then you can just start dropping your pins of tracks, poop, rubs, whatever you find, intersections, and then you can kind of look at it from that bird's eye view and start slowly putting pieces together. So that's kind of the attack there, is to be, like I said, a little more methodical. Like even if it's hot, you could take that chance and sit inside of that timber, hoping that something's going to just come through for a drink of water or get up and stretch. Another pro too with that dark timber, like it's still the things that but when you're caught up in it, you just forget this stuff and you feel like a dummy. But where are they going to be when it's friggin' hot as heck out? They're going to be in that dark timber, man. Mm-hmm. It's cool. Like we were sweating walking around when we got in there. It's cool. Like it's a couple degrees cooler for sure. So they're going to be in that stuff on super hot days too.
Down in the creek bottom, like that's where they're.
Yeah, just mingling, whatever. It'd be sick to find a little offshoot of the creek or something that would be wallow-esque type thing, where you could just a little pool that's not attached to it, where maybe they're wallowing, or a spring. But those are pipe dreams. Those are hopes. So
yeah, no,
yeah,
right on.
Yeah, that's kind of the 101. We flew the drone, which is super cool, just to see it from a 300-meter view of some area, and that really shows a difference too. Like you can really see the transition of trees, foliage, grasses. What you thought was dark timber is actually a swamp, right? Like it's pretty cool to do that. That was pretty neat. I mean, I don't recommend everybody's spending $6,000 on a drone, but a little spoiled with Ty and his profession. Sure. So that stuff was cool.
Is there any opportunity for you said like if things are kind of slow and there's an opportunity to sit some dark timber or down by the creek and just kind of play the silent game and hope something walks by? Like, did you identify any places where maybe you could hang a stand and have that as an option as well?
Actually, yeah, there is one spot that's where that cam was, would be a good spot for a tree stand. You can get up pretty high and have a good vantage point. And the other stuff, the trees are so tight. I think even if you got up there, you wouldn't be able to see nothing. Yeah. They'd have to walk underneath you, right? Because you can see, like when you're eye level, elk's eyes, you can see a long ways through it. But as soon as you're up high, you can't see nothing.
Pretty choked out.
So you have to be. For the most part, yeah. Just a couple little offshoots where it literally looks like cattle went down for water, which they're not, right? And this is pretty big bush. There's no cows there, but that's what it looks like. So I think more just sitting in the ground would be a benefit. Right. Never tried it. A saddle could prove itself, I think, in places, but like I don't know, man. I just think too, if it's me, dad, Ty, like you could almost split up too and play the two bulls getting pissed off at each other, and you might get one sneaking in on that too, right? Just maybe trying to be a little more creative with it instead of just I bugle, you bugle, I'm gonna come kill you. Right? Try to think more of like how could we provoke a bull if we think a bull's in here, how could we get him to respond to us? Thinking outside the
Right.
box. Instead of all three of us being tight together 20 yards apart, throw a guy 200 one direction, another direction, kind of have a guy in the middle, depends what the wind's doing, and just bugle at each other and just slowly start closing the distance. Like you're painting a picture right there that you got two bulls that are unhappy with each other. A third bull, probably more dominant, is going to want to come check that out because he's going to be like,
What's going on here?
Who's in my corner, right? I don't want you here. So
cool.
Lots of things, man. My mind's been busy. Just antsy to hear the ding, see what's on camera.
Have you got much for pictures?
And when they're on camera.
Kind of the 48-hour mark?
No. Well, right off the rip, yeah. Like I had a cow come in. She looked very pregnant. She's going to drop for sure anytime.
That picture. She looked very pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah, she looked ready to drop. And then the other camera had, I mean, I can't tell for sure, but there was a herd of probably at least 5 or 6 different cows. I got a picture of them all at the same time, which is huge too. And man, it'd be awesome to see some cows with some calves.
Yeah, for sure.
Ripping around on camera too. That'd be pretty cool.
No wolves or any bears.
No bears. Believe it or not, no bears. Pretty shocked by that. Crazy. Yeah, I'm super shocked by that, especially putting out minerals and stuff, right? Like I'm really shocked that something hasn't found that. But in the winter with Ty, I don't know if he's posted, maybe I did, I'm not sure, but had a pack of wolves come through in like January. That was a little, I don't like that. I don't like wolves, man. They're not my forte. So that was a little eerie, but that was it predator wise. Like even everywhere we walked, there was no bear tracks, no bear poop. Like, yeah, I was super shocked to not see bear sign, but they're probably up on the egg more too, right? They're looking for the food, so they're probably more worried about that stuff until the berries start popping and all that. Just my thoughts. I'm not a bear expert by any means. So
they're going to go to the green grass first, and not in the bear brush. So
yeah. So that's my thoughts. So now we'll just see, like, we'll take it down if we start getting photos or videos and such. I mean, we'll just start logging information and marking on a calendar what day they came through, and just keep approaching it that way. Ty's got a cam in a way different area, like long ways away. He had 2 young bulls come through a couple weeks ago. Nothing since though. I just don't think there's a pattern yet, right? Like there's no urgency for a lot. It's not hot enough yet. It's not forcing them to water yet.
It's kind of one of those things too, where like, those bulls are close to relatively speaking, they're close to farmland too, right? So they might be 7 miles away on a crop field somewhere, right? Like who knows?
Well, that's just it, because in 2 directions they could be up in the egg, and if they got a decent crop coming up, it could be whatever's coming up. I'm not a farmer by any stretch, but there could be some clover maybe popping up before they seed it, or maybe some alfalfa still going. And I mean, they're going to want to hit that first before they start browsing. I would assume.
Down the line, if there's canola and it's flowering, they'll be in that. It's like, who knows, right?
Well, that's just it, right? And then come July, I mean, and that could be why we weren't seeing and hearing as much elk last year as well. They might have been up tighter to that stuff, especially if it's so hard to get back there, right? Like there's not a lot of pressure, so they could just come and go as they please.
Definitely possible, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just everybody loves pictures of bulls, but I'm actually more excited to have cows because I know the bulls will be there eventually, and hopefully it's in the time
Yeah,
frame that we're
for
there.
sure.
Kind of like whitetail, right?
Yeah,
Buzz spot, dude. Like it's all does. There's one little resident buck that I was getting pictures of. I just went through a card tonight, and not one dude, not one buck that I got on camera in November. Not one single deer.
crazy.
So, but knowing that there's does there, they're going to be there in November. So it's you can plan according
That's
to that kind of information
literally
too.
identical to my home quarter here. I get I get maybe from end of July, kind of is when I try to get my cameras out here,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of October, middle of October. I might have like one or two like little resident bucks, but from like October
Yeah.
15th till the end of November, it's not like, because we do have like 7 or 8 resident does that just live here all the time. So October 15th
Yeah.
till like the end of November is when I don't even really have to put my cameras out in the
Yeah.
early season. I'd rather just put them out October 1st, and then, because that's when it really starts to get
Right.
serious, right? But
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
kind of concept, right?
Same. Yeah. Same principle for sure. And it's bush, man. They can do what they want when they want to. That's the hard part, right? Like we haven't found that key ingredient that's gonna keep the bulls there. Like we don't. It's big bush, man. They can do whatever the heck they want. We had a picture last year of a bull right where we were hunting, and then literally like 6 miles south, he popped up on another camera 2 days later.
Yeah,
Like there's no
there is
rhyme
no
or
rhyme or
reason.
reason, honestly, and that's kind of like, I'm going to relate this back to like big bush whitetail hunting. Like, it's just, to be successful, there's no patterning. Like, maybe there is to a little extent, but by and large, it's just time in the brush, and you hope the bush is kind to you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the purpose of the cameras, is to try to try to find a pattern, try to find something that exposes them that you can try to hunt off of. And that's only if they're not talking, because if they're talking, man, you hear a bugle, freaking beat the bush. You're not paying attention to a cut line or timber or what everything looks like. You're going to them, right? So that stuff isn't as important. It's more when they're quiet, and that's the approach we're going for, is because we were frustrated. We were definitely frustrated with it. Which is funny, man. Hindsight too, right? We were so frustrated by it, but we were talking and reflecting too, and I was looking at all my pins. We actually had a lot more rut activity than we thought. We just had an expectation, and the expectation wasn't met.
Right.
But we were in bulls. It just wasn't what it was the year before. It wasn't the wimpy friggin' scream off for 45 minutes. It wasn't, chuckles where we could find him every morning somewhere and he'd respond. It wasn't the picture perfect elk scenario, essentially, right? And so, yeah, man, that's the summary. You just try to maximize as much information, try to find maybe a pattern. If there's bulls around, watch them grow, see what they become. Not that we're trophy hunting. The first legal bull's going to get stuck. It's not going to be a question. But it's still fun to see. It's still fun to watch them grow. Like there's a big 5x5 that came through. Like he was a big 5x5. Be cool to see if he's around, see what he turns into.
Right on.
Just take it from there. Yeah, man. So that's the recap. That's the recap.
Sweet.
So I guess we could transition. So if you're an elk hunter that bow hunts, and well, maybe you don't know enough, or maybe you're intimidated by it. Maybe it was too much and you wanted to hang up the bow and sell it because nobody told you how complex it can be.
Maybe you're frustrated by your lack of confidence in your setup. Well, right? There's that.
In many ways, and bow tuning, I think, is a topic that needs to be more fun when it's talked about because it's daunting. It's exhausting, dude. I don't know how many phone calls we had last year trying to get that bear to shoot. Which we can I'll tap into a little bit because what worked shouldn't have worked, but it worked. um, you know, um, but yeah, I think we just dive into it and let's talk about bow tuning and we can go whatever from the bow itself to broadheads to vanes to arrows to stiffness to half outs, weight up front, arrow wraps, lighted knocks. I think we should try to touch
Sure.
it all if we can. If we can get into it, if not, we'll rip apart too sometime.
That sounds good.
So, and I'm gonna come at you with this one because I'm gonna just give the credit where it's due. You know a lot more than I do. Like I feel pretty confident in what I do, but I know you're my guy. You're who I go to. So I'm gonna ask the question just first off. It's a simple generic one, but how important is it to have a tuned bow?
um, it's everything. Um, Having a tuned bow, I guess I want to give a little backstory, I think, of how I got into like kind of
Sure.
tuning and how I got on my adventure of learning this myself. So I live 45 minutes from the nearest reputable bow shop, and I would go in there, get them to adjust my cams. Like I didn't even know. They would have this package that you'd pay $100 or $150 for, and they would do all this stuff and have your bow shooting good, and then send you on your
Mm-hmm.
way. So that was
Right.
my jam. I would do that. At the time, I was shooting some um, small diameter, like inch and an eighth or inch and 16th. I can't remember. Fixed blade broadheads. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I would screw them on. They'd kind of hit where I was aiming at 20. Then you'd see it would like slowly drift right or left as you would, get further out. And I didn't know how to remedy it. I didn't know how to go about having that. So my fixed blades and my field points would hit at the same spot, I guess. I didn't
Right.
even know that was possible
Yep.
at the time. That's how little I knew.
Mm.
And I was just the common bow hunter, dude. I was into bow hunting for like 7 or 8 years at that point, and I didn't know, and I don't, and I think a lot of people don't really know that that's achievable, and that's actually the desired result. Um, so little by little, this kind of piqued my interest because it was frustrating because at 40, 50, you'd be like 12 to 14 inches right or left or whatever, and but you'd get on at 20.
Mm-hmm.
So like, why is this happening, right? Like I didn't understand what was going on. So you would just adjust, kind of move your sight, cheat your sight, right? And it's just no good,
Mm-hmm.
right? At the end of the day, it's just not what you want. It
Right.
doesn't inspire confidence, right? When you're in the moment of truth and you have to remember, like, oh crap, at like 20 yards, I got to aim a little bit right because I've cheated everything for the longer
Yeah.
distances, right? Um,
Yeah, that's not
so
cool. That's
I
not
finally
cool.
in 2019, I think it was 2018, I committed to buying a boat press and just learning myself. I just sucked it up, bought the press, did a bunch of like Googling YouTube. John Dudley, like Knock On, he did a huge
Yeah.
video series on tuning bows um, and setting up bows properly. So I learned from him, from the YouTube world, pretty much. Learned how to tie in peeps, tied in knock sets, D loops, the whole deal. Um,
Yeah.
just so I could be self sufficient, right? Like, I didn't want to be going in driving a 2 hour round trip just to get a yoke twisted, right? Or a twist
Yeah.
in my string because my cams came out of time. Like, I didn't want to be doing it. So,
Right.
um, yeah, that was kind of my journey into it. And going through the process and tuning, I've tuned a couple of your bows, tuned my dad's bow, through my own bows.
Yeah.
Going through that process and coming out with a product where your bow can fire a field point, bare shaft, fixed blade broadhead, and hit the same spot at 40 yards, 30 yards. It's a pretty cool feeling.
70,
Yeah. Maybe not bear shot, but
right?
like
That was fun. No,
yeah,
but like
field point.
field points and then shooting the broadhead immediately, and you're within an inch. Like
It breeds so much confidence.
that. Oh, that's just the words out of my mouth. I was going to say
Yeah,
confidence, right? Like you're not questioning. You know that if that shot was off, it's likely you. It's
and
not
you
the.
know that like when you fire that arrow and you just see it and it just flies like a dart. There's no fishtail and there's no
Oh,
kicking. It's just like a laser beam. It's pretty
yeah,
nice.
yeah. There's nothing more enjoyable than watching a clean arrow just
Yeah,
float and just fall right into the pocket,
I
man. I
understand.
love it. I love it. Well, see, and that's awesome. That actually kind of leads into kind of the next thing. Like maybe for somebody that doesn't know like how would you define a tuned bow, right? So if a guy has a solo cam, maybe he's got a double cam, maybe he doesn't even know what he's got, dude. Maybe and I'm not knocking Cabela's, but maybe he just went to Cabela's, said I want that one. You know, they do their basics, which is fine. But then the guy takes off and he doesn't even know what cam he's got. Like, is this a solo cam, a single cam, or a cam and a half? Is it a double cam? Is it a hybrid cam? Is it a. And then, so how would you define like tuning a bow? Like, what does that consist of?
Well, it consists of a lot of things. I'm going to focus on
Where would you start? Maybe where would you
where would I
start
start. So the general concept,
with
my
tuning a bow?
definition of a tuned bow, because I'm a hunter at heart, is having my broadheads and
Mm-hmm.
field points hit at the same point. That is for me when I
Right.
achieve that at all distances. So from 20 out to
Mm-hmm.
my max range, whatever. I usually shoot out to about 80, 90 yards. That's kind of that's where I
Mm-hmm.
practice at. I don't hunt at 80, 90, but that's kind of my practice limits.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get them flying and hitting the same point of impact at all distances out to about 90 yards, I'm going to consider that like
Yeah.
tuned. So for me, in its
Right.
simplest form, tune like for me it is having your cams timed. So on like a double cam bow,
Yeah.
having your draw stops hitting your cables or your limbs, whatever, however that stop system is, at the same time. For
Mm-hmm.
that means it's
Right.
timed properly. So you're gonna have probably your
Right.
flattest, your levelest knock travel as you let go of the string. The arrow's gonna go. The knock travel is very level, or as level as possible.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Right.
so I always think of tuning as like trying to get the center of the bowstring lined up with the center of the arrow and having it push forward in a true straight line from full draw to when the knock releases from the bowstring.
Right.
All the energy from the bow is directly behind the arrow, which allows it to fly out of the bow as straight as possible.
Yeah. So you're not having like a top cam hit, and it could be like a
Oh yeah,
16th. Honestly, it's
it's really
crazy. Like it's so minute, right? But you don't want that top one or the bottom one hitting
yep.
first,
Or if you're like,
because now you're right. You're basically throwing it out on an angle, and now that arrow is taken off high or it's taken off low,
or if your
or
cam is leaned slightly one way or the other, top or bottom. Now that
mm-hmm.
now that
Mm-hmm.
bowstring is not directly behind that arrow, and now it's kicking left and right. That's how you're seeing those fishtails coming out of your bow.
Right.
So there's like,
Yeah.
without getting
Yeah.
into the weeds, there's a ton of ways to correct that through rest
Mm-hmm.
adjustments, through yokes, through shimmying. There's whatever system the bow has. There's lots of ways to correct it, but understanding what system you have and how you can correct those problems is very critical to tuning your bow.
Right. Right. And you said yoke system versus now most bows are coming up with shims, right? So yokes is where the cable's splitting off
It's
to the
got a yoke
top.
on each side of the axle. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. So for anybody that's not aware of that, that's what that is. And then you can take a twist, put a twist in, take a twist
That'll
out,
move the cam.
and you play
It'll
with that.
You kind of tilt your cam one way or another, which influences your bowstring as well. So you can play with that. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
There's
And then there's
yeah,
shimming, which is
the pain in the butt.
I mean, everybody's getting better at it, but man, that VXR threw us through the ringer for holy moly, trying to dial that in.
I think our problem there was we didn't go back to neutral before we had a bunch of
Yeah, we
shims in there.
were
But anyway, yeah, I digress.
Yeah. Well, but that's a good point too, right? I mean, if a guy's going to try it themselves, like you should always start from zero. If you're taking it to a bow shop, yes, trust what they do. Don't not trust them, but be a part of it. Don't just drop the bow off. Try to be there and spend time and shoot it, because if you don't shoot it, you're not going to know what it's doing.
Well,
You can't trust it and then say, screw it, I'll just put a mechanical on.
that's kind of, and I went down that path. I hunted, like, I have nothing really against mechanicals. I think there's some bad designs, there's good
No.
designs. But I shot mechanicals. I killed a pile of stuff with mechanicals for the 10 years I struggled getting the bow tuned. But to your point, Brandon, it's a good point that you make. There's a tuning service that's offered that they tune your bow in a hooter shooter, which is basically a mechanical. It draws your bow. It's like a draw board that they can fire your bow. Well, that's great. Like, gives you like a nice baseline, but that's not you. You grip the bow.
That's
you
not
grip
your
the
grip.
bow differently than a hooter shooter. You put different pressures on the handle, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many. Like, tuning a bow is very personal. It's like, I could have a perfectly tuned bow. I could shoot a great bear shaft, bullet hole through paper. My broadheads hit with my field points. You could grab that bow and it wouldn't work.
And all over the place.
It's a very personal process.
That's a great point.
And only
that's a
so
good
there
point.
has to be, I think, in order to get a true tuned bow, there has to be a level of proficiency with the archer where they can be consistent from shot to shot to shot. Because if you're not, you're never going to get a repeatable result to make a change if need be.
Right.
So there has to be a level of proficiency amongst the archer in order to, like, achieve the results you want.
Right. Yeah. Excuse me. So, and it's like, man, there's so many places you can go with that, like even in that conversation alone, because then there's like rest tuning, there's knock tuning, there's even the craziest one for me last year was I couldn't get a shoot through paper. I was doing everything right, like, and then I go too far, and then I'm too far this way, and then I'm too up, and I'm too down, and it kind of brings me to the next spot of like arrows, but like, because arrows is another part of it too. You could have a perfectly tuned bow, but if you're shooting too stiff or too soft, that can cause deviation as well. But mine, it was perfect.
Or just like,
it was perfect. The numbers were perfect, and the thing would not paper tune. And then I remember I just turned the knock in a weird way, and I went with a 125 instead of 100, which is not what I should have been doing. And then I'm shooting bullet holes, and that gave me the confidence. Am I saying that was right and it was perfect? No, but for whatever reason, it was shooting, and I was confident out to 40, and that's all I needed. For bow hunting whitetail, like I wasn't gonna be stretching shots further than that. So it helped me out, and I did cheat, and I went with mechanical. Just it's a little less drag and stuff, right? So and that's kind of like hypocritical, because let's be honest, not every single archer is going to spend all that time. So it's kind of like, how do I ask this? Could you manipulate / cheat your bow to shoot well enough that you're not going to be unethically hunting? Is that possible?
I think it's possible because guys do it all the time. I'm going to say, like, I don't know what the number is. I'm going to throw a number out. I have no idea if it's right or wrong, but like, your average bow hunter isn't going through those steps. I highly doubt it.
No.
So I think, to your point, I think a lot of people do that. There's ways to do it, and I think, like, you can get your arrows flying well enough to shoot 40 yards in it. I think that.
Yeah, you're not going to go past 40, because that's where you really see the flaws in an arrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I absolutely think that happens. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that.
Don't
I don't.
recommend it. You're
I don't
biting your tongue. Don't
I mean,
recommend it.
I understand that not everybody has access to that type of equipment to make the changes that you need in order to have the bow shooting the best it possibly can. And I know pro shops are
Yeah.
so busy that they don't have the time to spend
Yeah.
with everything a person
To spend
to
that
get
much
that
time.
result. I understand that. So I'm not gonna sit here and like be all preachy about it because I know the
Yeah.
average dude just doesn't have access to that, and I get that. Uh,
Yeah.
I think pro shops do a pretty good job of setting those up properly and
They do.
getting guys going and getting them on the right path. I 100% think that the bow shops that are around now, like the ones that have survived, they're good. They know what they're
Yeah.
doing, and um,
Yeah, they
they
can
can
get you in
get
the
you in the
game.
game pretty
Yeah.
well. Um, so there's
Yeah.
no like, there's no, I'm not, no, there's no shade getting thrown at pro shops. I just know from my experience that being able to have that equipment, I can take my shooting and my tuning to the next level that I couldn't previously do because I didn't have access to
Yeah.
that equipment.
Right.
Um, so like, yeah, maybe I kind of bit my tongue a little bit, but I recognize that, not everybody has that. So
No, the shops don't have all the time, and I'll be honest too. Maybe it's money, $100 a time, like that
oh,
adds up, and I mean it's like it's too bad that it's not taught right off the rip. I think that would change. That would limit the amount of animals that actually get injured. I mean, you can't not sell a product, but to be able to give that information of, hey, look, I don't know if you know what you're getting into here, like.
mm-hmm.
Maybe just a little more education might help too. Because let's be honest, most guys are buying bows because they get an extended season, and then they're throwing them in the back of the truck, and they got 5 different branded arrows in a quiver because they lost them, and these ones are cheap, and then different broadheads, and it's like, oh, I'm hitting 6 inches, and and I'm not. It's hard. I'm not knocking that. I think it's just a lack of education, which is what I'm trying to bring light to right now, is knowing these little things. And I think paper tuning, like we'll touch on that. I think even if you can build a simple paper tuner, it's super easy. You need a rectangle and craft paper. And shoot it, and that'll tell you everything, and that'll even get you a little closer. Maybe you don't have the time, but if you take it to a shop and you're like, hey, look, I'm knock high left, that's going to give them a way bigger starting point. They might say, what arrows are you shooting? And it could just be an arrow issue.
I mean, yeah, it's like if we want to touch on arrows quickly, like arrows, if you don't have the right arrow for your setup, it doesn't matter. Your bow can be perfectly tuned. You're not going to get the right result. That's just stop.
Good flight. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I wanted to lead into was arrows as well. And just kind of, yeah, we'll just kind of build it out with the bow, right? Like we touched on the tune, which means your cam's leaning, not leaning, them hitting at the same time. We didn't really get into rest tuning, but you can just to explain it, and you can jump in if I'm missing something. But let's say you are shooting a little left, you can counter that with the rest.
Right.
Like we're talking minute movements, not major movements, because now the arrow's gonna slap out of the rest or potentially hit your riser or whatever. But you can take a little bit out. And we're talking broadheads because to get a field point to fly is that thing could kick and correct and it'll still hit. I've watched it happen. You can still drive them in there 50 yards, but you throw the broadhead on and you're going to miss the target at 20. And that's just simply because you got basically little veins in the front steering it as well as veins in the back, and they just don't jive with each other.
Put wings on the front, weird things get real weird.
They get weird, dude. Oh man, I've had some moments where even everything I know, I'm just scratching my head, couldn't figure it out. Like, why is it doing this? I don't get it. I don't get it. But, and a good recommendation too is, man, YouTube, dude. We got so much information right now. Like we're talking about it, but to physically see it, Dudley, dude, hate him or love him, the guy throws out tons of information, like so much information. it doesn't mean you got to go buy a bow press, but just to have that knowledge and you walk in a shop, because I've noticed, just being in a shop, and when I know what I'm talking about, maybe I don't know it perfectly, but I know the problem. They're more, it sounds bad, but they're more willing to work with you because you're that much closer. It's not just like, here's my bow, it doesn't work.
100%. If they think they're a little more
Right?
educated and understanding of what's going on with your bow system, like they're just going to be able to provide you that much better or a higher level of service.
A better service.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Absolutely. 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 I hope this is helping. I hope this is serving a purpose. So let's jump into arrows, because that is another one. So you could have the bow tuned. It could be, everything could be good. Some, they tell you to buy
400
whatever, and every arrow has a little different way that they spine them ish, right? Like a 400 or a 350 or 200 or whatever, right? Like, I guess my point is, don't just jump on Amazon and buy arrows because they're cheap. Like you got to pay attention. So maybe explain, spine. What does that mean, and how do you approach that? That's a big open one, but maybe
keep it like pretty high level. I guess spine is kind of, in layman's term, just how stiff your arrow is.
Yeah.
So as you shoot your bow, obviously your arrow's flexing from as the transfer of energy happens. It's kind of flexing through the air. So there's different spines, different rigidity of the shaft. So generally speaking, like a 400 spine arrow is a lot more flexible than like a 300 spine arrow, for example. But generally, like you'll see on boxes of arrows, you'll see spine charts where they correlate draw length with draw weight. And so you take your draw length of, say, 30 inches and your draw weight of 70 pounds. You run them up, they meet at a point, and that's, whatever. That might say they recommend a 300 spine shaft for that particular arrow. So it's very critical to have the proper spine shaft, because like you said, if your bow is perfectly tuned, but you're shooting a wet noodle, so to speak, you're not going to get the results you want.
You're not going to get it.
Your tail and frustrated, and it's just not going to be a good time.
Yeah, well, we're going to touch on that because there's ways that you can make your arrow work for you, even if you made a mistake and cut them too short, or they are too long, or they are too soft, or they are too stiff. But like a good example here, we'll try to, I don't know if we can read that, but that's a V-Force 350 is what it's called. So that's a 350 spine, and that's a Victory. Just using it because I have it here. And then here's this is an older arrow, but this could then throw a guy for a loop. So let's say you want to run the 350, but then all of a sudden you see an arrow. Let's see if I can get it on the camera here. I don't know if you can read it, but it says 6580. So now you're looking at these two arrows. How do you right? That'd be confusing. You'd be like, what do you mean the 6580? What does that mean? I mean, that's talking poundage, but that's a pretty big spread to be trying to dial in an arrow. Right? 80 pounds. There's no way I would be confident shooting this arrow out of an 80-pound bow. No. And 65, I mean, you're going to be too soft or too stiff, right? So I think that leads into exactly what I want to talk about next is, let's say you get sold too stiff of an arrow. How would you soften or weaken that spine without altering the arrow? Let's say you cut them, you can't change them, and you don't want to go spend another $120. What do you do?
Add more weight to the front of the arrow, whether that's through an increase in tip weight, so going from 100 to 105 grain, 150 grain, or you throw in different inserts, so brass inserts, half outs, whatever that system is. You can throw in different weight inserts. So I know Easton on some arrows can do I don't know, I can't remember if it's 50 grain inserts, 75 grain inserts.
Yeah, you can get
Tip, I know, does
50s.
some different.
Yeah,
I was gonna
sorry,
say
go ahead.
I know I shoot gold tips, but I think gold tips have some different
Mhm.
inserts that you can increase the point weight. So essentially, like rule of thumb, you increase the point weight or the weight at the front of the arrow, it effectively weakens the spine. If you add weight
Yeah,
to the back of the arrow, it effectively stiffens the spine.
right. And I think this is a big one because, man, if you go online and you watch YouTube, everybody's got these massive 180 grains up front, and then look at all the FOC I'm getting, but that can throw guys for a loop because then they go and get their standard arrow, they throw all that weight up front, and the thing's a wet noodle. They can't even shoot
So
it.
a lot of guys that are
So
running
if you
those
want,
like high FOCs are running like 200, 250 spine arrows, and they're throwing 200 grains up
yeah,
front to make it fly like a
to weaken it, to soften
yeah.
it, to weaken it. Well, and I think more than bows and even bow tuning, I think arrows, man, I think they throw guys all over the
Yeah.
place, like pun intended, literally, because you want all that FOC, and then you buy these arrows, and then you put it up front, and now you can't alter it. You're sideways. Oh, technical difficulties. Mic check. Well, we had a little technical difficulties there. Technology, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
Angle went sideways and then blackout. We don't know what happened, so we'll pick it up from where we left off. Roughly, we're just talking about just heavy weight up front, and I believe you were right around guys are running a heavier arrow. So if let's say a 300 is called for, they're going to a 250 or 200, depending on that weight that they want to throw up front.
Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons. I know there was like a big FOC craze where guys are running like 15+% up front, and so anything like it's FOC, so front of center, so percentage of weight that's front of the center of your arrow. They kind of have there's a calculation there.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can Google that, and
Yeah.
you can literally do it at home. You balance the arrow, you measure it, punch in your numbers, it'll give you your FOC. There's apps for it. There's tons of stuff for it.
For sure. So yeah, there's a couple things like guys want to have big FOC, so they have to have a stiffer arrow so they can have that weight up front, or guys that just want to have a heavier setup, heavier grain, heavier finished arrow weight. They'll do that as well. So
yeah,
stiff shaft, lots of weight up front to make it act weaker, so it can work in their setup.
right.
Yeah.
And then and that's, man, we could go down that rabbit hole forever because I don't think you could ever dial in that conversation ever.
I don't think anyone will ever agree on what's right, what's wrong.
No.
For me, like I'll just tell you my own personal setup. Like I like to have a finished arrow weight of 425 to 500, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
And I want to have between 11 and 14% FOC.
Okay. And that
seems
sum that up. Why would what makes you aim for those numbers?
I know traditionally like 11 to 14% is kind of that sweet spot for FOC, where generally speaking, a lot of setups tend to fly the best. I know heavier weight FOCs, there's the potential to go into problems, and same if you dip below kind of 10%, going the other way.
Right.
And I like 425 to 500. Just it's a great all-around arrow for pretty much anything in Alberta. I have confidence in, slinging an arrow at anything with that. I don't want to go heavier because then like it's a balance too, right? Like you want to have enough weight to punch through a scapula if you need to, but you also don't want to compromise your speed and your pin gaps. Like there's a balance there, right? Like you don't want to be flying. I don't personally need to be over 300 feet per second with my arrow flight, but I don't want to be 260 either. I want to be in that 275 to 290, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And I find that generally flies my fixed blades and everything without real any problems.
Right. And I would side with that. I've been, since I started 20 years ago, good old Jerry Sizer, He
Jerry.
he always kept, good old Jerry, man. He always kind of kept me in that 410 to 430 range, just because I was a little shorter draw and I still kept my speed up.
Yeah.
But he was super heavy on shooting 125s to give you that extra FOC, and back then 125s were everywhere. It was harder to find 100 grain
125s anymore.
Dude, 125s are so hard to find. That's partially why I went with a mechanical this year, actually, is because I couldn't find a 125 grain locally that I was comfortable shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And it drove me absolutely bonkers. So I ended up with a Rage, whatever it is. Can't remember. Not a huge fan of mechanicals anymore, just because of what happened with Buzz, and that's partially on me, but it's because the blades opened up. They hit a limb and they opened up, and my Aeroflight was just toast.
In all honesty, I'm not here defending mechanicals, but I think that result would have happened with fixed blades too.
Yeah, just maybe not as bad. Like, the story ended beautifully, but potentially it still might have hit somewhere. It could have went actually. It could have went either way. It could have went real bad too. Like
I just think
it doesn't
like
mean that it doesn't mean it's a mechanical's problem.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would lean that with a fixed, it may not have been as bad.
Sure.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Hypothetically. That's what I'm telling myself. So here's a question. Yep. So basically what I've got, but let's say, there's my practice arrow. It's a big old mechanical. But let's say I wanted to put another 50 grains on that.
Yeah.
While running a wrap with vanes. I think a good point to think about is when you put all that weight in the front and then you decide to put weight on the back, you're not really gaining anything. Like there's a give and take, right? Like for me, I love wraps. It's just I've been dead set on them since I started. But they counter each other to a point, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Like if you're putting 25, like how much weight were you putting up front? Say 50 grains?
Oh no, let's say I wanted to put an extra 50. So I'm running 125, but I wanted to put an extra 50 and I'm going to 175.
I would say like you're probably I don't know what you're putting in the back of the arrow to counteract that. What I mean by that is like the 50 up front is going to influence the arrow much more than probably the 8 grains or 10 grains on the back end.
Okay, that's a good point.
I think it's going to be a little bit it's still going to act weaker than that 10 grains in the back. I don't actually know because to be brutally honest, I haven't really played a ton with adding weight to the back to stiffen stuff up because I've never been in a position where I've had a bad
where you needed to.
Where I needed to. I've always caught the correct arrow. So I haven't played with that. I don't know if 10 on the back. What I mean by that is I don't know if 10 on the back equals 25 in the front. You know what I mean?
Is going to change it that much up front.
I don't know. Assuming it's like a 1-to-1, it's a linear relationship. The 50 in the front is still going to act
more than the 10 in the back.
Yeah.
Right. So that's that's a personal preference thing. You just,
if somebody knows, feel free to enlighten me because I truly don't because I've never really weight on the back.
Yeah, throw get some comments going. Something.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are heavy on comments, but something because it's all educational, right? I'm not too proud to say I know it all, and I know you're not either. I just think I've just heard that debate where guys online are running that heavy stuff up front, so they're like, well, that's why I don't run a wrap. That's why I don't run lighted Nox, is because I got all that weight up front. But in my mind, I kind of go both ways. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I could see it countering it, but at the same time, I'm like, a 6-inch wrap that's 6 grains, what is that doing?
Exactly.
I don't know if it's affecting it that much that you can't run that heavy setup up front, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's. I really don't think it's moving the needle. Hold on.
Yeah, and when we played with your app and other things too, honestly, it didn't seem that the vein configuration, the vein size, with a wrap,
difference.
it didn't change it a ton. Like not enough to be like, ooh, don't run that.
Yeah. No, there was never
Like,
any red flags there.
not massive discrepancy. So, um, you don't run wraps, and I do. And the reason that I do is there's two reasons, and they're my reasons. And I don't know, maybe others feel the same way, maybe they don't. But I've been going to bright wraps so I can actually follow my arrow a little better. But I was always dead set on just straight white wraps for that chance that you get past her, you can check the blood on the arrow. It's a little more visible.
Mm-hmm.
I used to run straight white. I've been getting into the colors lately more for visual so I can see the arrow a little bit better. And I'm not huge into the lighted knock thing. I see the purpose of it, but I just haven't gotten into that. Those are my reasons why I do. What reasons are yours that you don't, if there is any?
Well, actually, I ran wraps for a while, like for a long time. I actually did run wraps. I'm actually running wraps right now because I was lazy.
Oh, let's go.
And I bought the boil on quick fletch because I was in a pickle, and I didn't have time to fletch, and I needed some fletched arrows, so I bought a 6-pack of those. Honestly, I'm actually probably pro wrap, to be brutally honest.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of the Luminox. First of all, they're expensive, and half the time they don't work. So, and they're heavy. Like they did, I think a Luminox actually affects your arrow flight, or like
there's like 20. It's like 25 grains or something back.
Yeah, like there's some, like I think it's enough to be, having an effect on the dynamics of the arrow. So that's not like the main reason is like I'm cheap. I don't want to buy it.
That's
so
fair.
I'll have no problem running wraps for the visual out the bow, and for the, I don't know, just the ability to find your arrow. I usually run brighter wraps just to have a little more surface area that you can see easily.
Yeah.
That's the main reason I run them.
That's fair. And I think those are the only reasons you would run them, right? I don't know. Because like we said, I don't think it's throwing that much of a benefit, a pro or a con, to having them. I think it's personal preference. And here's the thing: if you don't want to fletch your arrows, then what's the point? Like, it's a lot of work to fletch arrows. Let's be real. I find a lot of enjoyment in it. It's much like tying flies. I love just playing and doing it. I love it.
I hate fletching. It's the worst.
You hate fletching?
I hate it so much. I'll pay you to fletch my arrows.
I'll fletch and you can reload, and we got a deal.
Too funny.
Not that I don't like reloading. I just don't have it, and I don't want to learn something new right now.
That's fair.
Yeah. No, it's good. So that's just like a recap. I mean, how would you sum that up? Do your research. If you want to run heavyweight up front and your spine chart says 300, I'd go to a 350, or a 250, sorry, or whatever your branded arrows numbers coordinate to.
And honestly, if you want to run a heavier setup, if the pro shop's reputable, they will get you in a setup that will work. Don't try to wing it unless you have the right. Like I run Q spine on my. It's basically OTG2. You can pick your arrow, your draw weight, draw length, the whole deal.
Yeah.
It'll tell you whether it's the arrow you're looking at is spined appropriately or not. But yeah, the pro shop can tell you that. No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to shout out Jimbo's. Like, we're Edmonton area. They've been incredible. They've bailed me out many, many times now. And they actually set me up with these V-Force, these Victories. They're not an expensive arrow. I'm not bougie and fancy and need to have all these beautiful, expensive arrows. I'm kind of under the sense of, if it's going to fly and it's going to hit and it's going to kill it, it stops there for me. And if I can save money, I'll shoot the cheapest arrow I can find that's basically not from Amazon.
Right? Honestly, like I've bought like the match grade, like 1,000 straightness.
Yeah.
and I've bought the 6 thou straightness, and I can get them both to fly exactly how I want them. I've never understood the paying the premium for those batched arrows.
No, I can see the thinner diameter just because it's less surface area you got to push through.
Sure.
But I don't know how much that really matters, man. Guys are flinging giant aluminums through not efficient bows 25, 30 years ago and killing stuff constantly.
I run these broadheads.
Yeah.
Like,
them are nasty. What are those?
These are Magnus Black Hornets. They're
them are nasty.
serrated 2-blade with bleeder blades on it.
With bleeders.
Yeah.
Those are nasty.
Yeah, dude. I shot a couple whitetails with them, and they don't run very far.
Well, that's, man, that worked out perfect. Well, actually, no, I want to talk about vanes a little bit more. I was going to jump right to broadheads because I've got a bunch laying out, and I think you got some ready too to just kind of talk about. But how do you feel about vanes, different vanes, sizes of vanes, helicals, non-helicals, all that sort of stuff? That's a loaded gun question too.
That is a loaded gun question.
Like I saw you running those Hellraisers. Was that convenience? Was there purpose to that choice?
100% convenience.
Okay.
So to be brutally honest, I did a little. What did I do? I think I shot a bear shaft and marked it with a pen, and then figured out the rotation as it came out of the bow. Like, I shot into a target at like 2 yards. You can kind of see the rotation of how the arrow wants to leave the bowl, and then I did the appropriate helical for that on my last batch of arrows.
That's a huge point. I like that. That's a huge point because that's missed so many times.
Oh, so many times.
And that's, correct me if I'm wrong, that's based on how the string is twisted, which way.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an easy test to do, right? Like, just knock your arrow on your string, put a mark dead center at the top, shoot it 2 yards into a blank bale, and just see kind of which way it wants to rotate.
Right.
That's the way that determines.
And that's your helical. That's your left or your right helical. Yeah. Or offset. Like, it doesn't have to be a helical. You could just do an offset. It doesn't have to be twisted.
100%.
Right.
These particular ones are just straight. There's no helical on them. Still, they tuned up really nice. So, like, I don't need to have a left or right helical. Like, I'm perfectly fine with straight. Because at the end of the day, I know my arrow's leaving that bow as straight as possible.
Right.
And it's going to, like, straight left helical, right helical, it's going to stabilize effectively. I can see why you want a helical to match the way the arrow wants to leave your bow. It just stabilizes that much quicker, and I understand that. And if people want to do that, like, yeah, it's probably stabilizing a little bit better or a little bit quicker. I don't agree with that. But yeah, that's kind of it.
But to go back, if you've got that tuned bow and you've spent that time, you don't need those extras to help you out. Essentially, right?
I personally haven't seen, like, I haven't noticed, like, my groups get tighter. Like, the margin, the margin of error between, like, a straight and say if I needed a left helical. There's probably more error in my shooting than in the vane configuration. Let's put it that way.
Right. See, and I'm a little bit on the contrary because I've played quite a bit. So there's these guys, these boning, I forget what these are called. They're super, super small. I gave you some. I forgot the name of these ones. X vane, I think. There's an X on it, so probably the X vane. Duh. But like I tried flying these as a 3-fletch and a 4-fletch. I tried them helical, non-helical, everything. And like, what would you call it? The wing on it, right? Where it caps to the top. Like, these things are 3/8. And then you go to like an AAE max, and like your distance, your differences to the peak, 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
Plus they're longer. So I mean, there's a wide variety, right? There's long veins, narrow veins, short veins. I was super partial to these AAE Max last year. These guys, I should flip it around here. They're still super narrow, like they're not super high.
Right.
They got that slim profile, and I noticed a difference from shooting these X veins. I could not get arrows to fly at all. I think we witnessed that at your place when we were shooting. The AE Max gave me the most consistency, and I actually noticed a difference from 4-fletch to a 3-fletch. And 4-fletch, they actually did not fly as nice as the 3-fletch. I can't tell you why. I am not a whiz with that.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with just setups and the same thing, tune and how we shoot and what broadhead may be on there, et cetera, et cetera. Last year, I don't know if you tried, I tried these out. This is a throwback to 20 years ago. Big 4-inch.
Yeah.
Dude, brutal. I could not even get the arrow to fly. It was so bad.
Really?
Which is crazy because we did it 20 years ago, but it was so bad, but I had to try because they were cheap on Amazon.
These Hellfires are 3-inch.
3-inch?
I was worried about because I tune my rest and everything with just like I used to run my previous fletchings were just 2-inch blazers.
Right.
So I was like a little bit worried about the timing of the rest and making sure they're getting out of the way in time, but I haven't had any issues with it. So
nice. Yeah, the AE Max are 3-inch as well. I bought these recently when I picked up my bow. So I'm going to try running these.
What were they, sorry?
These are called the Max Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to try these. I've heard good things on the web as far as broadhead flight and the correction of it, but not like helicaled out, like with an offset and a 4-fletch. Which I understand why. There's not a lot there to helical.
That's right.
Right? Like I don't see the benefit of it, but I am going to try running them on a 4-fletch. Just because in my mind, I feel like if you can have the most stability, you're further ahead. I don't have the convenience of, I opted out of buying a bow press this year, which I softly regret, but yeah, just play around with them, see what flies the best. And I think that's also something to consider. You know, if you want to buy a fletchment, and I don't have it here, it's in the other room, but you can get a boning simple Fletcher on Amazon, like 60, $70, and you can play.
Yeah.
And I don't know the science, but you might get one vein configuration to fly better than the other, and it can save you a ton of time, right?
Yeah, totally.
Because not everybody has the time to bear shaft and knock tune and everything else, right? So
I've really done my tuning process down, Brandon. I think when I started, I would do like bear shaft or like paper tune, get a bullet hole, move to bear shaft, then move to broadheads.
Right.
At the end of the day, I was like, what's my goal here? Right? Like, I want to have my bear shaft or my broadheads fly my field points. So I just skip bear shaft tuning altogether and just
straight paper,
and then straight. Once I got a bullet hole, onto broadheads, and then I was
straight to the broadhead. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. Bear shaft tuning frustrated me a lot because it was like the opposite. I had a bear shaft perfect, and then I put the vanes on, and then it wasn't perfect, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Like I could not wrap my head around it, and it was just super frustrating. So last year, because we didn't have time to meet up and mess around, I just had to go. I just had to do what we're telling people not to do, but sometimes you just have to do it. You just have to make things work. And
totally.
And it was a super like these suckers. I can't remember what degree that is. I don't know if you can see the helical. Like they're pretty nasty. It's super super aggressive helical on these, and that's definitely what helped me
Right.
achieve what I needed to. But um, as I'm staring at it, that goes into broadheads. Let's talk about broadheads, because I think for the most part we've covered it. I mean, there's in depth, and if guys want to have questions like how do I set up an arrow? Like, send me an Instagram message, send Ingle an Instagram message. Like, we'll definitely try to help you out. Not saying we're pros, but we can walk you through all the concepts if you missed it or you're confused.
Well, and we haven't even
Um,
talked about like bow setup, like center
I
shot
know.
and stuff like that, which like
Well,
that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
it
We're just
is
kind of
because there's
level.
and it's true. I mean, where you start your knock on the string to how you tune your arrow rest, like it's its own thing. It'd be sick. Maybe we could do some interactive. Come out to your place and we could have your press. Maybe we'll try. No guarantees. Maybe we'll try with my bear when I come out. Maybe
Sure.
we'll try to make some videos, little shorts and stuff of what a center shot is and what this is and what that is and how
Yeah.
to do things. And
Yeah.
maybe guys got a press at home and he's just lost, doesn't even know what to look for. Maybe that's something we could work at.
For sure. That'd be fun.
But let's jump into broadheads.
Let's
You
go.
just showed off that nasty head of yours. And I'm not gonna lie to you, like that intimidates me. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get that thing to fly. But the truth is, we've already went through it. If your bow is shooting and you got the correctly spined arrow, and everything's working, that sucker should fly just as good as anything.
Yep. It hits where I'm aiming out to about 80 yards is where farthest I've taken it.
Right.
With anything, you throw a wing on the front. Again, I'm kind of going back to the proficiency of the archer.
Yeah.
You have to do your part. Like any error in your grip or any hiccup in your release or whatever that looks like, it's going to get magnified with a wing on the front like that thing has. So you have to
Right.
be pretty dialed in on your form. I also I've ran these in the past. These are just like the Rage hypodermics.
Yeah, I actually have some of those sitting here, I think.
They're okay.
Yeah, I got
Kill
that
the
right
pile of
there.
critters with these things. Yeah, exactly. Um,
Yeah.
kill the pile of critters with these things. I had one. So actually, I got to kind of tell a story here.
Sure.
Um, I had one whitetail. This was, oh geez, 2021, I want to say. Um, this is on our home quarter. I made a poor shot. Actually, I hit a limb and kicked my arrow down. I ended up shooting this buck. It broke its leg bone and
Okay.
gave him a haircut on on his belly, and then punched through his other leg, but didn't break it. Just kind of punched through the muscle. So
Yeah.
this deer was like bleeding like crazy, but not, like going. And I gave him a bunch of time, and I ended up catching up with him in a cattail patch, is where he's bedded.
Yeah.
But at that point, he was too stiffened up and too sore to get up. So I was like 5 yards away, he was quartering away from me. I threw on Rage hypodermic. It was just
Yeah.
what was in my quiver. I just had like a mismatch. I knew all of
Yeah.
them flew the same, so I didn't really care. But I had this deer quartering away at 5 yards, threw the Rage on him, shot for the last rib to kind of get that in the
Yeah.
chest cavity. It hit that rib and rode parallel to the rib cage under his skin
No
into the
way.
I
Didn't
shoot
even go in.
I shoot 70 pounds, 30 inches. Didn't
Yeah, you got energy.
Yeah, couldn't
Didn't
believe it.
even go in.
No. Um,
That's
so
that's that's something to consider and talk about, right? Those hard quartering away into.
yeah, like mechanicals have their place. I don't have any gripes against them. The only thing I caution is your shot angles. Quartering
Yeah.
through, quartering away, like you can get away with quartering away, but it can't be hard quartering away. It has to be
No.
slightly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like man, like broadside shots. I mess around any other way.
No, and I side with you on that. Not that I haven't been fortunate. I've talked about in the past of why I decide not to shoot more than I should. But I side with that because even just playing with them and shooting at targets and stuff, even seeing them blow through, like they'll go through the target, on a steep shot, and the broadhead is through and only one blade opened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's sketchy to me. Like,
Not
here
only
you are,
that,
you're hunting whatever you're hunting. Maybe it's your first buck. It doesn't even matter if it's a fork horn. You're pumped, and then potentially you're never gonna find this animal again because the blade didn't even open. And
yeah.
man, I know there's gonna be heat and hate, and whether it's said or not, I know there is because it's so controversial. But like, and then I'm a hypocrite because I ran mechanicals last year, but like, I don't know, is it worth the risk? That's the question. Is it worth it?
It's whatever you have
And
confidence in, honestly.
yeah, that's kind of my thoughts too.
Well, and see, like, so in my opinion, there's like different levels of um, mechanicals, in my opinion.
And
I would,
lead it up there because there's rear deploying, there's front deploying, there's bleeders, there's non-bleeders, there's
I don't know if I'm going to catch hate for this or not, but my own personal opinion, I will never fly a mechanical, an over-the-top mechanical, which what I mean by that is the blades are folded up forward, and as it
yeah,
hits the animal, those blades have to come all the way
go
back.
backwards. Yeah.
Like, the amount of energy that takes away from allowing your arrow to punch through um, the deer, the moose, whatever the heck you're shooting at, is crazy. And not to mention, like, how does that work if it's a 3-blade, for example? Like, if you have a quarter shot, like, it's disaster.
Yeah.
Potential disaster. I'm not saying it's going to be a disaster every time, but there is, like, man, not for me.
I have one. I don't know why. I just hold on to stuff from forever ago, but it's like a Spitfire or something. I think that's what you're talking, same style.
I think Grim Reaper has them like that.
Yeah, maybe? Grim Reaper too. But like shown in this one, you can see like this is what you're talking about.
This is
these are the rear, and that's good because when it hits, it's pushing backwards.
Yes.
I mean, I don't have the collar on there to hold it, but it pushes backwards.
Yeah.
To open them, so it's way less energy spent popping that past the plastic collar that's there.
And
like I can just do that with my fingers. It's a cakewalk. Like it's just, and it's there.
And yeah, like, and you got like better chance of that opening successfully on more of an angled shot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
That's just my own personal preference. I think the over the top were like the original designs.
Yeah, they're more old school.
I think there's a reason why most broadheads now are kind of that
rear deploying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my take on mechanicals. Just beware of your shot angles. They serve a purpose. I've seen some nasty blood trails from those. They work like when you hit them in the right spot, man. It's going down.
They're leaking.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely preference, and it's not knocking one or the other. It's preference.
I just had a poor experience with one, and I just that was kind of enough to turn me off a little bit, and use fixed blades as my primary.
Yeah, like I think Ty, like he's all fixed blades now, but he shot his bear.
Yeah.
With actually, I think the hypodermic, the one that I was just playing with, and dude, he smoked that thing. It hit the offside shoulder. That bear was dead in 30 seconds.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like it's you could if you can go on his channel there. He's got one of his original videos of that bear hunt. I don't know if you watched it, but you could hear that arrow smoke him. Like
yeah,
it was a thwap.
Yeah.
And that bear did not go far. I think he ran for 10, 15 seconds, and then you hear him do the moan, and sucker was dead. So it's not, by no means we're saying don't shoot mechanicals. It's just kind of like a buyer beware, and educate yourself and practice your shots and be confident. And I think that's what it always comes down to with all of this. Correct. Is you got to shoot, and you got to know. You got to know what your gear's doing.
Don't be that guy that practices with his field points, throws fixed blades on 2 days before the season and rolls out.
Yeah. Don't try not to be that guy. Try not to be that guy. Just try it. Hold yourself accountable. Don't be that guy. Yeah. Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
You're not that guy, pal. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Okay, well, that's mechanicals. Fixed blade, there's lots of different varieties. There's solid steel ferrules. There's the 2-blade with the bleeders, like you just shown. Yeah. I got an old school slick trick here, 4-blade.
Love those.
Just been holding on to them. They're pretty nasty.
Yeah.
What would I say? Is there things to look for, or are we just still talking preference? Like every company's going to tell you that their broadhead is the best.
Yeah.
Here's a Muzzy. What were these called? Trocar,
I think that's what I was.
I think. Yes, it's. I don't think it's solid. It looks like it's welded in there, but I mean, essentially a solid frame as well. It's got big air pockets in there. I feel like I've never shot this. I think they're going to be loud, and a lot of air is going to travel through that.
Yeah.
And then good old classic. You remember this? What's this one? This is old.
Jeez, is that a rocket? Not a rocket. What is that?
Sonics,
yeah, Sonics.
Can't even buy them up here anymore. It's crazy. Yeah. So there's options in fixed blades too, right? So
for me, it was honestly, I wanted to just try those Black Hornets out.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got him from Ambush up by Kalmar there. I don't know if he's still around or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I messaged him on Instagram and I didn't get a response.
I bought quite a few packs to last me because I had the money and I was just messing around.
Yeah.
But honestly, for me, if once I use these up, I'm probably gonna go to a smaller fixed blade, like 1 1/8 inch.
Yeah.
I just think it gives you a little more forgiveness.
Yeah.
Smaller wings, so to speak. Maybe helps. Yeah, maybe helps with the wind. If you have wind and you're shooting maybe out of the prairie, you got a 50-yard shot. Might help with wind drift a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm splitting hairs there, but
no, I think that makes sense. I mean, you want the least amount of drag as possible, right?
So the ones that
what is that too?
The Wasp drones, those ones pique my interest. I think those are going to be my next set.
The drones, yeah, those are sick little broadheads too.
Yeah. You don't get the big cutting diameters that mechanicals offer, but I don't know, they just inspire confidence with me. Yeah, the Thunderheads classics.
Yeah. $10.
Nice. Can't beat that.
I'm gonna try to get them to fly. I mean, they should fly. If the bow's tuned, they should fly.
They should fly, yeah.
But how sick would it be to friggin' smoke something with one of those this year?
You got to have the old rail tree camo if you're gonna do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Straight 90s aluminum shaft.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. They just bend. They just, they bend. That's all. I don't know why they'd be obsolete. They just, once they're bent, they're bent.
Yeah. On to the next one.
Break out your wallet.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna play with these, but man, I'm stuck, and I don't know why, dude. I think I have a mental disorder, and when I'm stuck on something, I can't break my brain. And I shot them once, didn't shoot them I did actually. I missed a deer with them way back when. But the Muzzy MX4s.
Yeah, you're a Muzzy guy through and through. I know you are.
I don't know why, but them, and honestly, mechanical wise, I'm not gonna lie to you, those new. Oh, I should have been prepared. What's that new? Not the dead. There's the dead meat, and then the mega meat. Those things look nasty too.
I shot the G5. Actually, I think they were the Tekken. I think that was G5's like
Tekkens. Yeah.
first mechanical. It was a was it? Yeah, it was a 2-blade.
Yeah.
I shot a moose at 86 yards with it, and piled this moose up like
Didn't go
straight through the
20.
heart, and like buried in the offside shoulder. Like broadhead was completely embedded, and I dug that sucker out, and it was not bent, nothing. Like it was beast. Like the blades were bent, but the ferrule and everything was still like rock solid.
Wow. Wow.
That moose went like 30 yards and just tipped. It was great.
Didn't go 30. Down goes. Down goes Frazier. There we go. Down goes Frazier.
But yeah, those G5 makes a pretty. I haven't shot any of their stuff recently, but from my experience, they had some good products.
Yeah, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think Slager shot a bear with one of them. I'm gonna have to talk about that. I have to pick his brain on that one.
Yeah.
See if you see what it was that he shot it with, but well, here's a little fun, maybe not fun. We like to still go places, but what do you think about those beast broadheads? Do you think that's all hype and marketing, or are you familiar?
I don't even know what you're talking about, dude.
No, you never seen them?
No.
It's like the spring activated broad. It looks like they look like an NA piece, not a Spitfire. The 2-blade, rear deploying.
They're spring activated?
Yeah, they got springs on them. So like the concept is if you should check them out after.
Okay, well.
But the concept is like if you hit a rib, the blade will close on one side and continue to pass through and then open up again.
Is this a Bomar one?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realize
Beast.
I seen them once upon a time, but I didn't realize they're spring activated. Does that even?
Yeah, I think they're. I don't know.
Interesting.
Sound Archer is selling them.
It's kind of a cool concept, honestly. It makes sense.
It is. I get the concept, 100%. I get the concept. I just don't know. I don't know if that's something you want to play with. It'd be cool though. You hit that rib or something, and the blade just shrinks in a bit and then comes back open. Apparently he shot through like scapulas and stuff, testing them, but the guy also shoots like a 90-pound bow because he's a tank.
Yeah. I mean, is it the same concept?
That's a ton of energy.
I'm just thinking to talk here, talking to think, but wouldn't like a rear deploying be the same way? As long as that arrow's moving forward, it's going to bend around.
Essentially.
And then...
Well, essentially, right? Like, it could be boom. Yeah, I mean...
I don't know.
Essentially, that blade.
Or does it just like because it's the force is keeping it backwards? Yeah. If it hits a rib, it's just going to bend instead of move out of the way.
Yeah, I don't know.
That could be where the difference is, but
they're really expensive. They're really expensive, and they're a 2-pack, and I don't want to flirt with that and spend my money that way to try it. But if anybody's shot them, I'd love to know. I think, Canada, everything's expensive. I think they're like $80 or $90 for 2.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, they're up there.
No thanks. Cool concept, but that's a little out of the price range.
Let's see here. Let's see if I can check it out. But yeah, I'll look it up here, and then is there anything we missed or anything that you wanna? I kind of picked your brain, so
I'm trying to think here. Like,
ooh, here's one. Is a new flagship bow better than an older bow? And I'm asking that question because you have not upgraded your bow.
No.
And you're still shooting it.
So this is my 30,000-foot view on the archery industry. Like, I'll be honest, I'm shooting a Bowtech Insanity CPX from 2012.
Correct.
The thing is 6-inch brace height, has an IBO of like 342. It's got, it's a double cam yoke system, easy to tune. Really no issues with it. What I see now in new bows is they're lighter. They are more user friendly in a sense that like you don't need a press for certain bows to like fix a cam timing issue.
Yeah, you can tune more. There's
You
a
can
lot more
a
tunability.
lot more tunability. Like Bowtech has, you can move your cam on your axle with an Allen key, right? Like you
I
don't
think the new
need.
Lift X, you can do that too now.
Can you? Like I haven't even
I
kept
think
up with
so.
the models both, but you're paying like
Yeah.
you're not gaining, in my opinion, you're not gaining any more performance from like an arrow velocity perspective. To
Right.
get 340, you're still a 6-inch brace height. That hasn't
Yeah,
changed in
you're not
15
changing that.
years.
None of that is changing. You're just getting lighter, more features,
More user friendly tunability.
user friendly. Yeah.
That's what this is coming down to. That's what you're paying for.
And you know what? That's a good point too. When we talk about bow tuning, if you don't want to be in the shop and you don't want to do that stuff, Bowtech's got it. I think Matthews is doing it. I'm pretty sure they have that you can adjust it on the axle now. You don't have to shim them anymore on the Lift X.
I don't know about Bowtech's like their technology, but I think the only thing you need a press for is to change out strings or to
Yeah.
time your cams.
I correct me if I'm wrong, but I even think their new bows you can adjust the cam on them too. You can
On the
tweak that
cable stop.
somehow off the cable guard. Yeah, cable
Yeah,
stop.
maybe that's true. But yeah, like honestly, the need to tune off a bow press with some of these newer bows is like I see why they're like I understand why they're doing it. They're trying to make archery more accessible for a lot of people without spending
Yeah,
another $800 on a press to work on your bow. I
yeah,
get it.
just spending $800 on the bow instead of the
Yeah, I mean
press.
tomato, right? But
Yeah,
you're not wrong. But I think to me that's where it's you're seeing the features and that's where the industry's going.
yeah.
I don't think new bows are. I define like what do you mean by better?
And
They're
that's what
not
I mean. It's
faster.
no,
They're not outperforming some of the high end bows
no.
from 5 to 10 years ago.
Even the
They're just
weight, I
easier.
find they're heavier than even older bows.
Can
Like
be.
it's hard to find. It's hard to find a 4 pound bow, but 10 years ago there was 4 pound bows everywhere.
Yeah. So I mean, I
Oh,
don't think.
you know, like
I think if you're looking at the global what a bow entails and what comes with a bow, I think yes, today's bows are better in a sense that they're more user friendly and you're
mhm,
getting the same performance. But if you're looking strictly at performance, I think there really hasn't been that much of a
of a
huge
jump.
a huge jump per se. It's
Yeah,
not like 2005 to 2010. That jump,
yeah, that was massive.
like that 10 years from like I'm gonna say 2005 to like 2015, there was a
Yeah,
monster jump in technology.
yeah, from the solo to the double because the double was king, and then the binary. Bowtech changed the game with the binary.
Correct.
Like, and then the cam and a half, you were getting almost the same speeds, but so much smoother. And yeah, that jump was massive.
Yeah. So like I think we've hit a bit of a plateau where now, yeah, companies are just kind of focused on the user friendly experience more so than
Yeah. And I do think that's great. Like, I think it pays to play essentially. Like
yeah.
if you are intrigued and you do want to do stuff on your own, some of these bows are setting a standard that you can do it. And why not? Like, I'm not a fan of APA just because I wonder why you're running a double cam still. But that's personal point. That's just my personal opinion. Double cam still serve its purpose. But the thing is with their system, you can tune the cams, you can do everything on the bow.
You can even change strings without a press.
You
Like
can
you
change the
don't
strings on the sucker. Like
APA's like
you
honestly
don't need a
APA's
bow
like
press.
APA's leading the charge in that respect.
Yeah. In innovation, 100%.
It's crazy.
They've taken charge. Definitely, they've taken charge.
Yeah.
And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I get it. You know, it's just me personally. I love to see a little bit different cam design, get some yokes thrown into there, but probably comes down to patents and everything else. Like, you know, this guy owns that, and you're gonna have to pay this and da 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 da.
The whole legal stuff.
The legal stuff, same stuff that put my favorite bow company out of business many years ago.
Yeah.
Old champion.
Yeah.
I don't remember the details of it, but it sucked. Anyways, I think it had something to do with the solo cam actually.
Oh yeah.
Could be wrong. If anybody knows, let me know. Hey, you ready for this? Beast Broadhead. This is US dollars. Okay. 2-pack and one practice tip.
Oh, how nice.
$84 American.
You're gonna have like $300 in your quiver.
Yeah, that's without your match grade that you're putting it on.
Unreal.
Crazy. They are super cool though, but I can't fathom that much money. I am cheap. I'm not even cheap. That's just too much. Unless like somebody started shooting them and that I know and they're like, dude, you gotta shoot these. I don't see a point right now.
We've been killing deer with and the critters with sharp sticks for a long time.
Thunderheads.
We don't need spring activated broadheads.
Yeah. Or maybe we do, and we're just missing out because we're Canadian and everything costs too much, but
it's true.
There's that possibility too.
For sure.
I don't know, man. This is a good one. I don't know where else we can go. I mean, well, there's tons of places we can go, but it's hard without showing stuff, right?
Sure.
Just talking about it.
Yeah, like
yeah. So obviously,
the whole setup of a bow, you know, you kind of have to
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even think we could do justice. I think Dudley, just go search him on YouTube, man. That guy. Yeah. It's incredible. The information he gives out to the world is absolutely incredible. Like you're getting so much stuff for free. It's crazy.
So I'll leave this whole tuning portion to this comment.
Okay.
Like the average archer will benefit from setting your center shot at 13/16 off the riser, having your arrow at 90 degrees to your bow, and having your cams timed.
Yeah.
That's going to get you 95% of the way there.
There's Ingles Bow Shop 101.
101.
Honestly, and that'll get you there. And let's be real, most shots aren't going to be outside of 40 anyways.
That's right.
It takes work to shoot further than that comfortably.
Effectively.
You don't think it's far, but when it's happening and they're there, it's a poke.
Even like that bomb of a moose shot, the only reason I took it was out my back door, dude. And
there you go.
I was literally walking to my blind, but before I left, I took 3 shots at 90 yards. And I put them right, boom, boom, boom. I walked 5 minutes down the trail, and the moose was standing there. And it was the same shot I just did 5 minutes ago. I was like, I had all the confidence in the world.
And like just a little...
Put it right in the pickle.
Good night.
Yeah. No wind.
Yes, sir.
It was lovely.
Yeah. I mean, there's all those factors too, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a beautiful spot to end it. I'm going to just shout out Scorpion Outdoors. just simply off the basis that they're supporting me and I'm supporting them. And if you need some new strings and you want to get some colorful stuff on your bow, because I mean, personalizing your bow is fun. That's why we do it. Otherwise, we could just have one color of everything. Might as well have fun with your setups. If you want some new strings, head over there and use held ACC 20% off, guys. Like, seriously, that's incredible. I don't even see these big dogs. I'm not saying I'm a big dog, but man, that's super generous. And I think you should take advantage of that. It doesn't just stop at strings. If you want a rifle scope, you want a rangefinder, 20% off. It's pretty uptown, if you ask me. So I might get a new set of strings for my old bow, the old Bear Agenda. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do, but if I do, I'm definitely going to get some Scorpion put on there and have it run as a backup bow potentially. We'll see. But yeah, head over to them and check them out. And of course, Wapiti River too. I'll shout them out because we talked about elk in the beginning. Wapiti River Outdoors for your elk calls. Gonna get old Angle Dog on some Wapiti River this year, and
I'm stoked. I can't wait to try it.
And give them a rip. And
Yeah,
but yeah, use Wapiti Friends 10 for 10% off, which is huge because an elk call isn't much money anyway. So you save a lot right there alone. And support a local guy. They're both actually Canadian businesses, and I'm not on the tariff thing. That's not why I'm doing it. That's another conversation. But support the boys that are in our back door. That's how I see it. So
yeah,
man. Well, thanks for jumping on, and we'll queue up another one another time. I'm not. We got many topics in our back pockets, so
for sure. Sounds good.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, and I got to get ready for. I got a northern Saskatchewan fishing trip coming up next week. So
yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Maybe we'll have a fishing episode.
Actually, I mean,
throw it into a totally different dimension.
That'd be a totally different. That'd be throwing it back for me because me and you both, we got pretty big into the fly fishing. Obviously, I was big into fly tying.
Yeah.
Love those big old meat flies.
That'd be cool. Hopefully, I could. If you want to do one, I might have some pictures. Post fishing trip, I could send you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, why not?
Hopefully, get some donkeys up there.
Still outdoors. It's not hunting, but I mean,
it kind of goes back to
okay,
when we started really hanging out again. So.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Little history lesson. We met each other at wholesale. Very lightly mingled. Just sold you a tree stand, and we just kind of talked when you were in. You were pretty shy back then too, but I was as well. I mean, rightfully so. And yeah, what was that like? 15 years later, selling a fly rod, and this guy rolls up. I'm like, "Hey, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I thought that was you." And here we are.
Yeah, 10 years later.
Still kicking it.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, that's good, man. That's why I love the outdoors. It brings people together and creates some pretty cool friendships out of it. And most importantly, time spent outdoors is you can't take it away.
Nope.
Like you'll never take away this Buzz story for the rest of my life. I'll remember it as long as my brain's working. I'll remember it, and those are the moments, man. That's the encouragement.
Yeah.
That's why we do it. That's why I'm sitting here talking to people and hoping, somebody jumps in, like share stuff, learn stuff.
For sure.
And keep it alive.
Heck yeah.
Because it ain't a right. It's a privilege.
Right.
So.
You betcha.
All right, pal.
Okay, buddy. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. Yes, sir.
We'll catch you later.
All right, bud. Thanks.
You bet.